was a cool summer night, so me and my friends decided to camp out in the woods behind my house. I was looking for a house to rent or buy, and I ended up moving to a rural town after having a fight with my family. The house was nice and small, right on the edge of the town near a huge forest spanning at least 5 miles. So when I saw it was only a minute away from the house, I was so excited because I've always loved to camp out in the woods. Now this town was the type of place where everyone knew each other and almost seemed as if they were all friends. So obviously when they found out another person was moving in, most came to greet me and bring me some gifts, like pies, cookies, baked goods. And when they all left, I was sitting on my front porch and felt a strange feeling, like I was being watched, but I didn't know where from, until I looked into the woods. When I looked at the woods, I saw a creature, a huge creature, at least 6 feet tall, standing up next to a tree. But it wasn't the height that scared me, it was its face. It looked like it wasn't even there. All I saw was its red glowing eyes staring back at me. It flinched back and ran back into the woods. Now, I thought it was a prank at first because everyone knew I was moving in, so I figured it was just some teenager trying to pull a prank on the new person in the town. But just to be sure, I decided to go to the local store and buy some security cameras. And when I got there, it was only me and the cashier in the store. So I told him I was looking for some cameras because I saw some strange creature in the woods and I wanted to camp out. But if it's not safe, Then when I looked back at him, his eyes were wide as I've ever seen, and he said to me, "You moved in the small cabin next to the woods, didn't you?" And before I could say anything, the small radio in the corner of his desk went off. 2 teenagers found in the woods last night, dead, at their camping site. Update on the situation coming soon. He then looked at me with an expression of, "Good luck. I don't know how you're going to get out of this situation," and lead me to the back and handed me 4 cameras and a small rifle. When I got back to the house, there was at least 6 to 7 people near the edge of the woods, transporting what looked like 2 body bags out of the woods. "Great," I said. "I'd rather be fighting with my mom than having to deal with some mythical beast." But I had to deal with it, some way or another. 5 hours later, I had set up every camera facing towards the woods at every angle and prepared for what would be a long night. All of that happened yesterday. It's now the current day, and nothing special really happened. I actually fell asleep, and when I checked the camera footage, it just showed the creature stand eerily at the edge of the woods and just watching my bedroom window I left open. I have to go look for a job in this town. I'll update you guys next week, or really if anything happens. Well, I'm back. I found the job, and I figured out something I can and will use as an advantage to take this beast out, no matter what. It seems like it can't leave the edge of the woods where the trees stop growing. The creature can't go beyond it. So I use this to my advantage, throwing random things at it to see if it would react to different items. I figured out its weakness. It couldn't be near the light, which explained why it only stayed in the woods. So I grabbed 2 of my friends, 6 flashlights, and we headed out. And it actually worked. After 30 seconds of shining the light on the beast, it died. I had done it. So later that night, I'm sitting in my room, and I hear whistling in the woods. I look out my window, and there's hundreds of creatures whistling. Oh my God. They know I'm in here. It's only a matter of time before they find me. This is really long, but this is 100% true. 25 years ago, I moved in with my cousin and her roommate, Jose. The house was an old cement block, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house with a large fenced yard. He had 2 very large German shepherds that lived there and were mostly in the yard. The house is in Carmel, Florida, in a shitty, packed suburban neighborhood. Nothing special. The rent was cheap, $50 a week from what I remember, and the house was clean. Plus, my cousin lived there, so I moved in. We all got along really well. Everyone worked. We pretty much kept to ourselves and saw each other for a few minutes here and there. I lived there for about 6 months. This is the story of what caused me to move out. On a weekend night, we all happened to be off from work, so we decided to invite some friends over from the pool hall that we go to, and Jose invited some people over that he worked with at the pharmaceutical lab. There were probably 20 people in total. We played music and did what young people do. Eventually, it got pretty late, and we found ourselves talking about ghosts. We all shared scary stories. My cousin and I come from a pretty spooky family, so we really had some good ones, and everybody was really into it. Jose was quiet throughout most of the conversation. He waited until it got kind of quiet, and then he said, "This house is haunted." My cousin and I shot each other a look, and then both laughed, because, yeah, sometimes Jose's 20-pound house cat would meow at the empty hallway. But that was it. He proceeded to tell us that there was a presence in the house, but that it mostly stayed in the shed in the backyard. This tiny little pink wooden shed that I had never even looked in. He told us that he always keeps the curtains in his bedroom closed because his window faces the shed and the door to the shed will not stay shut. He has jammed it shut a million times and it always pops back open. It creeps him out. He said he could tell when it was in the house because he would always wake up feeling depressed. It creeped me out. I didn't want to think that I lived with a presence, and I didn't like the idea that it was hurting my roommate. I was a tough chick, and in my opinion, I was like, screw that ghost. I'll shut that door and you won't have to keep your curtains closed anymore. I said all this because, in my heart, I didn't really believe that anything was in the shed or the house. I believed that they were just messing around. So I told them all that I was going outside to inspect the shed and deal with the door. Everyone followed me, and while we were walking around the outside of the house, Jose told me that it was a bad idea to mess with the shed. That whatever it was wanted that door open, and I should just leave it alone. We all got out there, and it was exactly what I thought. A very worn-down wooden shed that oddly kind of looked like a tiny house more than a shed. I looked inside, and there was a busted lawnmower, and some old paint buckets, some rusty screens, and darkness. I looked around outside, and found some rusty-ass shovel in the corner of the garage area. I took the shovel over to the shed. I kicked the door of the shed back into the frame. The door was closed and literally kicked it into the frame, kicked shut. I took the handle of the shovel and I put it under the handle of the shed door. I shoved that into the ground and it was secure. We all went back inside and we bullshitted some more, but it was getting kind of late. I'm going to say it was around 1 in the morning. By the time we got back in, everyone was kind of saying their goodbyes. We let the dogs out of their pen and out into the yard. We locked the gate. We made sure that the front gate was secure also, so they couldn't get out. And then we went in, straightened up the house, and eventually we all went to bed. Sometime around 6 in the morning, I woke up because I needed to pee. I opened my bedroom door, and I was sleepy still, but there was a weird sound as I opened my door. It startled me. like fingernails scraping something coarse. I opened the door all the way, and the shovel fell in the door and it hit me. I can't even put into words how I felt at that moment. The shovel had been standing against my bedroom door. There was a tiny pile of dirt where the tip had been set against the tile floor of the hallway. I rushed through the house to the side door, which was locked, and then out to the backyard. The shed door was wide open. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I ran back into the house. I immediately pounded on both Jesse and my cousin's bedroom doors. I was terrified and angry. I absolutely knew that one of them had done this. I know that you, dear reader, couldn't be there to see the reactions, but I promise you, neither of them did it. Jose literally started to weep. He begged me to tell him I was lying. He begged my cousin to admit that she had done it. When neither of us would take responsibility, he went to the store and got a bunch of religious candles, produced a rosary, and started trying to pray whatever it was away, or pray for me for being so stupid. My Spanish wasn't even close to fluent enough to keep up with his prayers. My cousin, on the other hand, was pissed. She was ready to fight me. She was adamant that I was pulling a prank. She cussed me up and down. She called me a liar, and she said I was a child, that most of all she didn't appreciate being woken up at 6 a.m. after a night of partying to being a pawn in my prank. When I knew that neither of them had put the shovel against the door or reopened the shed door, I was literally terrified. There was no way someone else got into the yard, past the dogs, got the shed door open, and then got into the locked house to put the shovel against my door. I didn't sleep there again without somebody else in the room with me. Every moment spent there after that was beyond tense. We all kind of stopped talking to each other, and Jose and my cousin ended up in a terrible argument over a button on the stereo, and she moved out within a week. It took me 2 weeks to find another place to live, and I never went back.